All right, good evening, everyone, and thanks for joining us online today. Really great to see so many people attending this consultation event on Wood Green and Green Lane chapters of the Draft Local Plan. Um, we posted some information about how the session will run in the chat and in the Q&A section, so please do have a look at that. My name is Tim Solomon. I'm the manager of the Policy, Conservation and Design team here at Haringey. I'm joined by Oliver Reinhold, a regeneration manager in the placemaking team who put together Shaping Wood Green. Before we begin, I'd like to just go over a quick few housekeeping points about how the webinar will work. So you've all joined as attendees, which means that your microphones and cameras are off by default, and that simply just helps us keep the session running smoothly. The format of the webinar will be approximately 30 to 40 minute presentation introducing you to the draft local plan and the Wood Green and Green Lane chapters, followed by a Q&A period. So if you'd like to ask a question or make a comment, please use that Q&A function. Please be respectful when writing your questions. You can also raise your hand if you wish to speak. If you're selected to speak, what we'll do is we'll let you know that we're going to enable you to unmute your mic yourself, and then you can ask your question if you wish to do so. Just letting you know that, sorry, one sec. Just letting you know that this session will be recorded. That is to make it available for people who are not able to attend the event, and recordings and slides will be made available on our engagement website. For this session, I'd also appreciate it if you could focus your questions on the Wood Green and Green Lane chapters of the local plan. It's a huge document, and we've got a lot of topic and neighbourhood specific webinars planned over the next few weeks, which will provide you an opportunity to ask more specific or detailed questions on those other areas. It'd be great to just keep it focused on Wood Green and Green Lanes for today. We've got a lot of people attending, which is great, but if you find we don't get to your question or you can't attend a future online or in-person event, please do email us at newlocalplan@haringey.gov.uk. If one of my colleagues could actually put that in the chat, if it's not already, that would be super. There might also be questions that we aren't able to answer in the moment, and if that's the case, then we'll endeavour to get back to you on those, and what we'll do is ask you to email those questions to us at that email address. So in terms of the agenda today, what I'm going to go through is just the what, why and how of the draft local plan, the structure of the local plan, a bit about the spatial strategy neighbourhoods before moving on to a section on placemaking in Wood Green that Ollie will speak to. I'll then come back and talk about the Wood Green chapter of the local plan, the Green Lane chapters of the local plan, and then we'll have time for questions after that. So, what is the local plan? The local plan is the council's main document used to determine planning applications in Haringey. So this can range from applications to change a window in a protected area that's got heritage protections, to an extension to your home, changing a warehouse into a nightclub, or a major application to build new homes and infrastructures, employment spaces, such as the developments you may have seen in Haringey Heartlands or at Tottenham Hale. The local plan sounds like it's very broad in scope, and it is a very important document, but I think it's also very important to set out what it does and doesn't do. So what it does do is set a vision for the kind of places we want to see in the future, the kind of places we want to live, work and spend time in. And as part of that, it looks to set out a plan for accommodating the future growth, so the homes, employment spaces, infrastructure that we need over the coming 15 years. And as part of that, it looks to allocate particular sites in the borough which have key opportunities to provide those new homes or employment spaces, shops, or green spaces and infrastructure. It also sets out a suite of policies that set requirements and guidelines to ensure that what comes forward in terms of new development and land uses of high quality, sustainable, and responds to kind of our local context. And we also, as part of the local plan, look to protect those things that we really love about the borough, so our heritage sites and our green spaces and natural environment. What the local plan doesn't do, it's not a funding mechanism in itself. So the local plan doesn't fund or deliver any new development. It just says this is an appropriate location for this type of development. It will be up to either private developers or the council, should it decide it wants to redevelop a site, to actively pursue that in a different context. So the local plan just sets out the rule books for what we think can come forward in particular areas. It doesn't cover the management of council services, so things like street cleaning or housing tenancies, street parking and LTNs, and it doesn't make direct decisions on the delivery of infrastructure such as schools, hospitals or transport projects, although it can say that because a site is delivering a certain amount of new homes or jobs or whatever, that there's a need as part of that development to provide some infrastructure or contribute to the provision of the infrastructure to support it. So that's where it does come in on that kind of funding side. So the last year, the council published a 10-year borough vision that set out an ambition for Haringey to be a place where we can all belong and thrive. The local plan is a really key document in helping deliver that vision by ensuring that we develop our land in a way that's efficient and meets our needs and aspirations as a community. By having that vision, an ambitious vision and plan, we also hope to secure investment for the borough. And as it covers a range of topics, the local plan also complements a range of council strategies, including strategies for housing, parks, open spaces, and climate change. It also complements key placemaking strategies, including Shaping Wood Green, which you'll hear about soon. As one of the most important documents the council produces, it's really essential that it's shaped by you, our residents, community groups, businesses and stakeholders, and as part of a commitment the council made a few years ago called the Haringey Deal, we're really keen to work in a committed and collaborative way with our communities to deliver this key kind of statutory document. And it's part of the reason why we've got an extended 10-week consultation period for this and an ambitious program of consultation events. In the interest of time, I won't go into the details of how the planning documents fit together. The main point is that we've currently got a suite of 4 documents that comprise the local plan. This plan looks to combine all of those documents into one. We'll shortly be putting up a video of the recording to our Intro to the Draft Local Plan event, and I do go into more detail in how these documents fit together there. So why are we creating a new local plan? Well, it's a requirement for us to review this document every 5 years. The existing suite of documents dates back to 2017, and then a lot has changed. We've got new national policy, we've got a new London plan and another one on the way. We've declared a climate emergency, the housing crisis has got worse, and there's a real growing focus on health and well-being. So this document is also a really great opportunity to deliver to address some of these challenges like homelessness and climate change, but also deliver on exciting opportunities like the council, Haringey being the London Borough of Culture in 2027, and us hosting the Euros in 2028. It takes a while to create a document as comprehensive as the local plan, and we started this process a while ago now with a first steps engagement back in winter of 2021, before we had even started drafting any policies, and the intent was to hear from you, but before we even began putting pen to paper. We've now got a full draft plan, and it's the kind of the best chance, I guess, or the best time rather, to engage at a time that there's all the details out there, but it's still earlier on in the process. So what will happen is that we'll get the feedback from this consultation, and we'll use it to create another version of the plan called a proposed submission plan. And there'll be another consultation period in the spring, summer of next year on that document. We'll take the feedback that we receive on that document, and then we'll submit the plan for an examination by an independent inspector. That will occur hopefully in the summer or autumn of 2026. If the inspector recommends that there are any major changes to be made to the plan, there'll be a further stage of consultation on those main modifications, and then the inspector will make a decision as to whether the plan is sound enough to be adopted, in which case the council will make a decision as to whether it chooses to adopt the plan, and we hope that will occur in winter of 26 or 27. In terms of the structure of the document, it's split into three main sections: an introductory section, which includes a spatial vision, a section defining what placemaking is for Haringey, and I'd really encourage you to read that document. It sets out kind of overarching objectives and priorities for the borough, and a way of working. There's also a spatial strategy, which I'll touch on briefly, and then there are chapters on specific neighbourhood areas, and also borough-wide or thematic chapters as well. So this is the spatial strategy, and it's what directs development investment across Haringey. So the current strategy is focused, the existing adopted strategy focused very much on Wood Green and Tottenham. For this new plan, we've taken a step back and taken a thorough look across the borough at areas with the greatest opportunity to accommodate new homes, jobs, infrastructure, facilities and services in accordance with this overarching framework for placemaking. And just to touch on that framework, it's grounded in these three objectives of a fairer borough, a healthier and safer borough, and a more sustainable and resilient borough. So that's kind of guiding our decision making on this. So each of those areas that you see in the different colours are what we call placemaking focus areas, and they are labelled as either transform or enhance areas. So transform areas are the ones in the kind of purple, and enhance are the ones in the green, and there's one you'll see in teal that's a mixture of both. So transform areas are areas in the borough with the greatest opportunities for placemaking and where the biggest changes are planned or expected. So these have the greatest potential to accommodate a large proportion of the new homes we need, workspaces, public spaces, etc. Examples of transform areas include much of Wood Green Central, which is a metropolitan centre, and also North Tottenham is another example where we've got large-scale development planned around the stadium in High Road West. It's important to note that both Wood Green and Tottenham have special status as they're identified in the London plan as opportunity areas. Again, the reason for that is that it's thought that they can accommodate a lot of these new kind of homes and jobs. Enhanced areas are places which have moderate to high opportunities for placemaking, and change in these areas are more likely to be incremental in keeping with the existing character of the area. Enhanced areas are deliberately drawn quite broadly and are less defined, and they may include not only sites where new development may occur, but also areas such as parks where investment from development can be directed to support wider placemaking improvements, so improvements to those parks. So what we've done with this plan is divide the borough up into 11 distinct neighbourhoods. This is based on, generally speaking, kind of urban design principles. They're usually grounded in a town centre. So the idea is that they're kind of areas where you can access all your services in a close proximity. Just to emphasise, these are not political or statutory boundaries. They're simply for the purpose of breaking up the borough into different areas to provide more detailed guidance. Each of these neighbourhoods has its own placemaking vision, at least one or two placemaking policies, and then it also identifies these specific placemaking focus areas within them. For each placemaking focus area, there is a strategy, and there is a list of initiatives to support placemaking in that area. There is also site allocations that are identified in those placemaking focus areas. Although I will say that there are some site allocations that don't exist in a placemaking focus area as well. Site allocations, as I'd mentioned earlier, are these opportunities to provide more detailed guidance for key sites with the opportunity to accommodate new development. So I'm just going to touch briefly on the relationship between the local plan and Shaping Tottenham and some of the similarities and differences. So the local plan is a statutory document. It's the document that defines what placemaking is for Haringey and sets that placemaking framework, as I mentioned. It's very focused on land use and development, and it is meant to ensure that growth is supported by infrastructure and directly shapes planning decisions, whereas a document like Shaping Wood Green is a non-statutory document. It has a slightly wider placemaking scope, so it isn't just limited to land use and development, can also look at how we coordinate services and work across the council, community and private sector. It's developed through community engagement, which, to be fair, the local plan is very much as well. And also it can help prioritise and coordinate council investment and service delivery. So I'll now just pass it on to Oliver to talk you through Shaping Wood Green. Oh, and before I do, it's at the bottom you can see the timeline there. For a long time there's been work on the Wood Green Area Action Plan, and the last consultation was back in 2018. What has now been decided is that we've wrapped up the Wood Green Area Action Plan into this new local plan. So on that, I will pass you on to Oliver. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks, Tim. So I'm just going to very quickly talk through some of the main principles of Shaping Wood Green and how it's influenced the local plan. So for those who don't know, Shaping Wood Green is a placemaking vision which was based on the Wood Green Voices engagement in 2022. We went out and spoke to many members of the community and listened to how they wanted Wood Green Town Centre and the areas around it to change. And from that, we identified 6 themes for change, which are making Wood Green a welcoming place, culture at the heart of Wood Green, putting the green into Wood Green, living well, North London's town centre for all, and an economy to benefit everyone. And we identified 5 placemaking areas, which are aligned with the local plan's placemaking focus areas, to kind of allocate sites where we think that there is the greatest scope for that change to take place. So next slide, please. Shaping Wood Green has kind of allowed the council to kind of prioritise change within Wood Green, and we have delivered a number of smaller scale projects over the last 2 or 3 years. Some of them range in scale. So the Civic Centre is quite a large project where the council will be consolidating its offices in the next couple of years. We've also done improvements to Wood Green Common. We're about to complete improvements to Penstock Tunnel. We've delivered over 100 council homes in Wood Green and have got about 46 more in the pipeline for early next year. We have started Eat Wood Green, which is a community growing programme on the balconies of the library. We've worked with the local bid to start a winter market on Lymington Avenue, just opposite the Matalan outlet, and we're halfway through making a series of improvements to Turnpike Lane. So this is all in response to the engagement that we did earlier on, but Shaping Wood Green also will continue into the future. So next slide, please. And we've used those 6 themes and some analysis to kind of analyse what's good and bad about Wood Green. So we can see, for instance, on this image on the left, the dark areas show that there's a lack of tree cover in the town centre, that there's also a risk of the town centre being vulnerable to climate change and extreme heat, partially because of the lack of trees, and also that many of these areas also are at risk of flooding. So for instance, Turnpike Lane has flooded 2 or 3 times over the last 5 years, and there's areas just off the high street and on the high street that are vulnerable to flooding. Next slide, please. Anyone who's familiar with Wood Green will also know that at times it can be difficult to navigate. So this is an image of the road down to the Morrison's car park, which is meant to be for pedestrians, but definitely doesn't feel comfortable for pedestrians. Sometimes there's a lack of good quality open spaces. There's really only the space opposite the library. And also we're hearing that there's a reduction in footfall and that retail in itself isn't what it used to be maybe 10 or 20 years ago. So next slide, please. So what are we doing? Well, as part of some of those themes, I've identified a series of spatial proposals which will be embedded into the site allocations that Tim has mentioned earlier. So putting the green on Wood Green. Currently, there's a fantastic ring of green spaces just around the edge of Wood Green, which includes Trinity Gardens and the spaces behind the Civic Centre and Wood Green Common. And we propose to look at the development on the sites around the bus garage, the council station road sites, and potential development on Morrison's and the library to install a series of green spaces which extend into the town centre. The recent planning permission of the Mecco Bingo Hall has also provided a new park for the public as well. Next slide, please. As part of making Wood Green a welcoming place, we're looking at trying to improve connections in and around the town centre. So, for instance, that loop of green space around the top of the town centre, as I mentioned before, but also links down into the cultural quarter from Wood Green Common, so north-south, but also links east-west from the High Street through the cultural quarter and the Alexandra Gate development to Alexandra Park. And as I mentioned, that new route through the bus garage and the Morrison site and library site, that's a real opportunity to create new pedestrian and cycle-focused paths through the town centre. Next slide, please. And finally, North London's Town Centre for All. This is about providing high quality public spaces, again, which line up with where we want to improve greenery and also to improve cycle infrastructure in the town centre. So looking at creating better cycle lanes, again, through that east-west route through the Cultural Quarter and Alexandra Park from the High Street, but also down towards Downhills Park through Knoll Park and up towards Alexandra Palace. And we also, and the last point is that as the North London's Town Centre for All, we're also looking at creating a diversified high street by trying to introduce or encourage different uses other than retail in the town centre. I'm just going to finish on this slide. This is Wood Green Central, which I've mentioned in those slides back there. This is the council's station road sites and the bus garage and the current Green Ridings House, which is owned by BT. This is a placemaking focus area. It's quite a crucial one. We think it could have, if it was developed well, it could have a really transformative effect on the town centre. So we've, as I mentioned before, we've got this north-south green link, which runs through the middle of the site, and that would be pedestrian and cycle focused if we were able to implement that with neighbouring landowners. We're looking at whether we can create a really large new town square out of these sites, which could be a focus for the whole of Wood Green. We're also looking at whether we could introduce diversified uses in the high street. So, for instance, whether we could get cultural uses or different types of shops and cafes to activate that main public space. And it's a site which could provide lots of new homes. In terms of heights, we would propose a massing strategy, which was highest where the current River Park House building is, opposite Wood Green Station, and slopes down towards the terraces which surround Wood Green. That's pretty much it from me. Thanks, Tim.
Brilliant. Thanks, Ollie. So, as I mentioned, each chapter in the local plan has its own, or neighbourhood chapter rather, has its own vision. This is just a summary of the Wood Green one, but the idea is that Wood Green in 2042 will have delivered on the aspirations set out in shaping Wood Green and will have been strengthened as the economic and cultural heart of North London. It will be a vibrant community hub, providing a wealth of services and experiences for locals and visitors alike. Residents, businesses, and local partners will be proud of their neighbourhood, having worked together to enhance it based on their shared aspirations. So, Wood Green has a series of policies. I'll just summarise some of the key kind of points here. Is an ambition to deliver a significant amount of new homes and jobs, to strengthen its role as North London's metropolitan centre, As I mentioned, I mean, it is a significant thing that it's the main centre for North London, but I think it's probably fair to say it's not living up to that potential at the moment. And part of that will be to kind of work on this cultural, creative and economic contribution, not just of the centre, but of the adjacent cultural quarter as well. As Ollie talked about, there's a real opportunity to significantly improve the public realm through this kind of transformation and create a much more welcoming, safe and green public realm for visitors, residents, businesses, and to put in place those strategic improvements to connectivity, particularly that linkage from the Metropolitan Centre through the Cultural Quarter and out to Alexandra Palace. Again, Ollie touched on this, but Wood Green Central is a huge opportunity, which is why it's labelled as a transform area. It is a really prominent site right next to the station, so an appropriate site for more dense development. However, it does have to be conscious of that context it sits within, with those terraced houses to the kind of northwest. And I guess what the engagement is about saying, well, if this site was to be developed, what are the kind of benefits that we want to secure from that development? And in our view, there's an opportunity to create that new public realm, that kind of connections through the site, delivery of over 2,500 square metres of public open space and new laneways connecting off the high road. It can often be quite busy along the high road, and there aren't that many opportunities for that respite. So this site could deliver some of that, and also provide new community, cultural and evening economy uses, and maximise or capitalise on that those crowds that head towards Alexandra Palace. Spouters Corner and Central High Road. Now here we've already got quite a few leisure and cultural uses with the Vue cinemas and with the library, and there's really potential to build on that through development in this area, providing for new cultural and community and leisure uses. You've got a lot of food and beverage offering along that, so it's really highlighting and expanding on that offer. As part of redevelopment, new homes could be provided on upper floors, and there is an ambition to kind of protect and enhance the wood green terraces that do exist and are part of the character of that high road, as well as kind of better celebrate existing heritage assets like the Gaumont cinema, and make those key improvements to the public realm. So a new improved public square between the library site and the mall, new east-west laneways, and a new improved walking and cycling link to the cultural quarter. So speaking of the cultural quarter in Alexandra Gate, again, another transform area, an opportunity to provide a mix of new workspaces, cultural infrastructure and town centre uses, and support a nighttime economy. As well as new homes, particularly on that Alexandra Gate side of the development, and also enhance the public realms for new public squares, improve public realm, and clear and safe east-west routes from the town centre through to Ali Pali. And particularly, there's an opportunity to really capitalise on that industrial heritage and showcase the amazing creativity that goes inside the cultural quarter. It is one of London's key creative industry clusters there. For the mall, high road and the terraces, again, another transform area. There's an opportunity for mixed-use development of the mall and the eastern side of the high road, and that would, in our view, prioritise those kind of larger comparison retailing within the mall area, accommodate more market spaces, and there's an opportunity for some enhanced community facilities and more cultural and even economy uses. Would also be looking to preserve those characterful terraces along the high roads and the individual smaller shops along them, which provide opportunities for independent traders. We also see an opportunity to enhance the public realm through creating new east-west laneways connecting the high road to Bury Street and as well and the cultural quarter. And providing clear east-west routes from the town centre to Ali Pali, as well as greening of the public realm. So there are a number of enhanced areas as well. Turnpike Lane Corridor, Station Road in the Commons, the High Road and Middleton Road, Bounds Green Industrial Estate and White Hart Lane and Lordship Lane Corridor. Just for the sake of time, I'm not going to go into detail on them now, but feel free to ask any questions when we come to that Q&A portion. So I'll just move on to green lanes now. So for green lanes, the vision in 2042 is to continue to be a thriving, diverse neighbourhood and to strengthen its reputation for providing global cuisines and supporting an expanded daytime and evening economy. The retail park will have been transformed into a new thriving neighbourhood with homes, workspaces and town centre uses, and a long-term sustainable future will have been secured for the Haringey Warehouse Living District, developed through careful and considered engagement with the community. Sorry, a few spelling mistakes on that one. In terms of the Green Lane policies and placemaking focus areas, there are plans for or allocated sites for over 2,500 homes. There's an ambition to protect the role of Green Lanes District as that regional destination for global cuisine, as I mentioned, to optimise the employment land and bolster the local creative economy, preserve the area's rich built heritage and enhance the public realm to provide opportunities for more interaction between community groups and reinforce local character and identity. The retail, I won't touch, just to go back actually, you'll see there's a number of two transform areas. One of them is the St Anne's development, which I'm not going to go into detail on because there's already an approved application for that and construction is underway. So I'll focus firstly on the transform area that is the Arena Retail Park. So again, I think it's important to note that this is a plan that covers a 15-year period. So all of this, while allocated, is not necessarily going to be developed straight away. The plan just allocates the sites and says there is potential for this in the future. It will then be up to the landowners or developers to bring that their development proposals forward to be assessed against the rules and guidelines in this planning document. So Arena Retail Park, the opportunity is for a new higher density mixed use neighbourhood with town centre uses, employment uses, residential and upper floors, a replacement supermarket and new community, cultural and leisure uses. In terms of height, it is an area that has been identified as appropriate for tall buildings, which are buildings over 30 metres. Those buildings should be directed towards the centre of the site in recognition of the fact that there are surrounding kind of existing residential areas, and also along the high road there's an established kind of built form that we want to kind of reflect on both sides of the high road there. There's also an opportunity as part of the redevelopment to create a really attractive and active street front along that eastern side of the high road, and also to reference the site's sporting and cultural history as well. In terms of the public realm, there's an opportunity to create a new walking and cycling network. We can all agree it's a very car-oriented space at the moment. There's also a chance to create a new public square on the site, and to create new links through to the Warehouse Living District and to the north towards Stanhope Gardens. In terms of the Warehouse Living District, it's identified as an enhanced area. The intent is to support the area as an important creative industries cluster and encourage land use and development in the area to intensify the employment uses. So a good example of that is the recent Florentia village development. Also to provide for warehouse living, which is a quite unique form of creative living and working that has arisen organically within the warehouse living district. So we're looking to really support warehouse living, and in particular its contribution in terms of creative production. There's also a real great chance to make those creative industries and activities much more visible and integrate it more with the surrounding community and surrounding area. In terms of the types of development for warehouse living sites, we're encouraging a retrofit first approach with also some opportunities for infill and redevelopment. So there's a real desire to protect and enhance that industrial heritage that exists there. And also as part of any changes to address existing challenges. So whether that be the quality of the existing buildings, some of which are getting quite old at the moment and not fit for purpose, and to better manage noise, waste and parking issues as well. In terms of public realm, there's an opportunity to improve walking and cycling connectivity through kind of a master planned approach to these sites, create new public spaces, and to work with Thames Water to increase access to the New River. Again, there's a couple of other enhanced areas which I won't go into at the moment, partially because there's not as much change that is envisaged in those areas, but again, happy to take questions if they come forward. So I think we're pretty good for time at the moment, which is great. I will leave it there and open the floor to questions.